This discussion is going to be about fixed costs. A fixed cost is one which remains constant regardless of the volume. I use rent, okay? Regardless of how much we produce, our rent is going to be the same. But it doesn't matter which fixed costs we're going to discuss. We have $75,000. So if we do 0 units, we're going to have a cost of $75,000. If we do 100,000 units, our cost will still be 75,000. 200,000 units, still 75,000. And 300,000, it's still 75,000. So we can graph our fixed costs. Our graph of the fixed cost is going to be a level line going straight across at 75,000, regardless of the volume. Now, if we look at it on a per unit basis, our cost for 1 unit would be $75,000. If we take the number of units and we divide it into that 75,000, it will give us the cost per unit. So in the case of 100,000 units, and we divide that into the $75,000, our cost per unit then would be 75 cents. If we take the cost per unit and we take the 75,000 at 200,000, then our cost is going to be about 30 cents. And so we can plot that and take it, and we'll see a graph that's going to go this direction. So on a cost per unit, as our volume increases, the cost per unit goes down. If we look at another example, let's take my salary, and let's pretend that they pay me $100 per class. If I have 50 students in here, then the cost per class or per student, the cost per student would be $2 per student. Okay, $100 divided by 50 students. The cost per class is $100. So it doesn't matter how many students I have, they're going to pay me $100. It's a fixed cost. If I have 50 students, $2. If, on the other hand, I have only 20 students in here, then the cost per student is going to be $5 per student. If I have 10 students, then the cost per student would be $10. So the cost, for the smaller the volume, the greater the cost. So what would the school want to do? They would want to have more students in the classroom. And of course, under the budget cuts that we've seen in the last few years with the state of California and the funding and so on, that's exactly what they've done. They've decreased the number of sections. We have now more students per class, and so the cost for the instruction is actually less because we have 50 students in the classroom and the cost per student is $2. Okay, where before we would have more sections, accounting 1B classes, and we would have fewer students per class. I might only have 40 students in each class or 30 students in a class, and so the cost per student was actually higher. So they've tried to decrease the cost on a per student basis for the teaching costs. So we can graph our fixed costs, going back to Exhibit 2. As a fixed cost, it remains the same. In this case, $75,000